Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is Friday, the 10th of April. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no advice or recommendation whatsoever intended. Please read the entire disclaimer just in case you are in doubt. All right, let's kick off, and this is the Forex market and yields. Interest rates. So we have euro dollar that is still staying elevated, and let's just have a look at here. First, on the left, I have the daily chart. On the week, I have on the right, I have the weekly chart. So euro dollar is still trading around this 117, where we have the 55 moving average coming down, but we have the 100 up and the 200 slightly declining, but could turn around anytime soon. RSI was rejected there, 60 threshold, so we are in a waiting and see position at the moment. We could slide a little bit back, but we broke out of this triangle-like pattern, this symmetrical triangle. Normally will take a little bit longer into the triangle, but whatever reason it broke out a little bit earlier than normal. We have a little bit of resistance up here at 117.40, but it's not that strong because look at what's going on the weekly chart. So we had this bearish move here over the past, here in March, and then 114, it's a really key support which it bounced off of. It didn't even touch it. I mean, it was just a few pips from it here, as we can see, 114.07. So now it's back above this rising trend line here, and more importantly, it is back above the cloud. It was in the cloud, but it's now back above. It's above 55 moving average. RSI bounced off the 40 threshold, marginally dipping below, but again, it's the FX market, so which one is the exact price since it's not an exchange-traded instrument? So what does it tell us? It tells us that we could see euro dollar now resuming its uptrend, or at least in the bigger picture, because as long as it stays about 114 is really the key for the medium to longer term here on euro dollar. And if we are looking at and zooming out even further on the monthly chart, let's have a look at that. We can see here several months ago, back in 2025, it actually broke this long-term falling trend line there. So in the bigger picture, we are actually just trading sideways below the 200 monthly moving average that is coming down here. But then we have the 100 here virtually flat, 55 down here. Positive sentiment on the RSI, slightly divergence. So we are in the bigger picture, and we could be range bound for quite some time in the bigger picture between 120 and 114, maybe down to 112 even. So really just to give a bigger perspective on what's going on with the euro dollar. Moving on to sterling dollar. Strong resistance here around 134.80, 85. Got rejected. Will it have another go at it? It will probably take some time. We have the 55 moving average pushing it down there, holding it down. But we have then 100 trying to drag it higher. However, we also hear RSI is still below 60 threshold. So I think if we see this pair cable, as it's called in old days, sterling dollar, breaking above and staying above 134.85, RSI is likely to close above 60 threshold, and that could pave the way or the road higher towards 137 with some resistance around 135.75. We can see here on the weekly bounced off the 40 threshold, and very strong bullish engulfing, basically taking out 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of bearish move, basically, or 4 weeks of declining prices. If it's, and it almost also took out this one, if it can still do it, if it pushes up to 135. So really something to keep an eye on. Also 100 moving average coming up here will give some support. Euro sterling, well, caught range bound here between 86.80 and 87.45. That's the range here, very short term, but as we can see, positive sentiment, and there's no divergence indicating we could see a push higher, but you see it's just below the 786 retracement here. So this area is key. If it takes that out, 87.50, well, then we could see a strong push up towards 88, possibly higher. And also here on the weekly, yes, we had a corrective downtrend, bounced off the 200 moving average, still positive sentiment on the RSI. So, and we had this very strong bullish candle here, and that could indicate that's a really strong bottom and reversal candle. So here the low of this candle, 85.80, is a key support. If it takes out, then we have complete different scenario, but it seems like we are bouncing strongly. But keep an eye around 87.50. Moving on to the yen pairs here, and the biggest one, of course, dollar yen, that a couple of days ago dipped just below the 786 retracement and then bounced strongly. RSI in decline here, but testing its falling trend line, and that's what you can do, draw trend lines on your indicators, not the moving averages, but indicators such as RSI, and if you're using others like stochastic or MACD and so on. If it breaks back above, and especially moves back above 60 threshold, then I think we'll see a push up and above the peak here at 160.5, and then we could see it pushing higher towards the peak up here just below 162. We are in a bullish trend on the medium term, so that could play out. However, there's also divergence. You can see the RSI declining, so a little bit trend exhausting, but we have to trust the trend more than that. I mean, we have the 100 coming up, we have the 55. Give it a couple of weeks, then the 55 is likely to break above the 100, and then we have an even stronger underlying scenario. But for now, still a little bit range bound. The euro yen, well, testing the previous peak and resistance here, just around 186.25. Touched it almost yesterday. Next one is that little spike up there. I think we will get up there. Positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels. We can also see all the lows here in this ascending like triangle, higher low, and that also indicated underlying bullish trend and sentiment. And we could push higher. We can see it clearly here on the weekly. It was merely just a correction, it seems, and we are likely to push higher towards 190. Will we get to 190? It's debatable, but still, that's something to keep in mind. We have Aussie yen back above the rising trend line, just a few pips below the 786 retracement of this sell-off there at 112.85. I think we will reach it. Positive sentiment on the RSI, got it back above 60 threshold, never went below 40. So I think also here we will see it pushing higher in the coming weeks. Of course, you should be aware of setbacks that could take it back to maybe test 112, maybe even 111.35. But let's see. I think we're still in a strong bullish trend here. And you will see it went pretty fast here, and it went pretty fast here. So like a V-shaped correction or V-shaped recovery. Also here on the weekly, you will see, well, very strong uptrend indeed, and likely to continue. What I will do here, and I'll do it just sometimes, I don't do all of them before I prepared the videos. I do it so you can see what I'm doing. Falling trend line here on the RSI, but if it breaks back above, and if it especially breaks back above that little peak there at 77.42, well, then we are likely to see much higher levels above 115 on the Aussie yen. 116 we could see that. On the sterling yen also above its back above this trend line there, back above resistance. It was a strong resistance, 213.30, and we are the scenario points to 215, where we have some stronger resistance again, and we have some targets in place. We have previous peak here going back quite a far back actually. So that's really, you'll see back here to when was that, back in 2008 it is. And if it takes out that, well, then we could be looking at even higher levels for sterling yen. Aussie dollar also back above the cloud, above the 55 moving average. getting close to, well, it got rejected there just below the 71. I think we'll see it pushing higher. Just need the RSI to get back above 60 threshold, and I think we will see that. And then the road is paved towards 72. There could be a little bit of a setback here at the 786 retracement, but I think we'll see it higher. If it gets up here, I also think we'll see it higher towards 73 and higher. We can see massive recovery here on the weekly chart also. There's no divergence on the RSI on the weekly, indicating likely higher levels on Aussie dollar. On dollar Canada, well, sitting back a little bit, and we could see it sitting back a little bit further, maybe down to 61.8 retracement there at 137.80, possibly. If we're measuring it from down here, then we are just above the 38.2 retracement, so maybe this is the turnaround. It is a little bit unclear picture at the moment, but if RSI moves back above 60 threshold and back above this rising trend line there, then there's a likelihood it will bounce already. So let's see here, maybe that was the correction, and then we'll push higher. On the weekly, a little bit unclear picture. I mean, we're still negative sentiment. The 55 weekly moving average dragging lower, 100 slightly up, and 200 is supporting it. So I think, yeah, maybe a little bit more setback, and then the next move higher. EURUSD, it's still this 92, 65, 70 area here, and the 200 moving average that is key. Above the steep rising trend line, so it's not that strong. 91.60 support, and 92.25. Let's see if it takes out 92.70 up here, then we could see a push up to around 93.25. But on the weekly, we'll see this falling trend line here still in play. 55 moving average coming down, so it has really a hard time, or giving a hard time, some resistance in these falling trend line and the declining 55 moving average. The dollar Swiss can't really make up its mind what it wants to do. Will it slide back lower? I think it will. Looking at the weekly, we see it seems like we will be rejected there at the 55 moving average, and it could slide back. Still negative sentiment on the RSI. So if it takes out the these lows here, let me show you a bit more clearly, especially that area there at 78.30. If it takes out, then downtrend has resumed, and that is these lows here that we should be looking out for. A little bit of support here with the 55 coming around, and the upper part of the cloud. The dollar index, well, as we can see on the weekly, where it was really strong resistance there at 100.35. It peaked just above, it got knocked back down in a strong bearish move this week here with this gap. And if it can't close this gap and get back above the rising trend line, then I think we will see it eventually sliding lower. But as we can also see here, we have the 55 coming up that just broke above the 200 moving average. We have the 200 moving average also the rising here. So some strong support in this area here around 98.5. And that will be crucial here the next couple of, well, today of course, and also going into next week. What will happen? Can it get back up there, or will it take out? If it takes out the lows there from the 8th of April at 98.30, well, then there is potential a lower and downtrend that has really been confirmed. Especially also, we will probably then get 40 threshold broken there on the RSI, and we can see that could mean we have resumed downtrend. Moving on to yields and currencies, of course, are highly linked. Not that they correlate, but still, it is often a interest rate play when we're talking about currency. So here's the US 10-year Treasury yield that has bounced a little bit from the 38.2 retracement there at 425. 425 seems to be quite a key area. We also saw a lot of trading around this level back here. Still positive sentiment, although there was some divergence, but I think we could be range bound here for a little while. If it takes out the lows here, which was actually around 423, we have some support there at 418, but we could see it dipping down to 410. However, resistance here at this 61.8 retracement of this downtrend there, which is around 439. So if we take out that, then this there's a peak and strong resistance here just below 450 could be tested. On the European yields, we have the EU 10-year. Well, it bounced a little bit yesterday, opened, you can see, slightly unchanged this morning here. It is still this key support just around 287 that should be observed, especially if it takes out that little spike down there at 294, then it really can come under pressure. I would think it would be taken out, and then we're looking at levels around 282. So a little bit range bound here at the moment. Positive sentiment on the RSI though, but a slightly divergence indicating trend exhausted. But you can see it's basically for the past couple of weeks been trading sideways, so it needs to break out of that range. The UK 10, that was set down a little bit. Strong support here around 460, and we just opened here a little bit higher from yesterday, but not much to talk about. Let's see if it will crawl higher. I think it will do it eventually, but one confirmation. I think if it moves back above, and let's just do that, if it moves back above that little 495, then we could have a move above 5% once again. And finally, the Japanese 10-year, another move higher this morning here in Asian session, and it seems destined to move to the 250 level. All right, that's all for Forex and the yields for today. And have a nice day and a nice weekend when we get to there. And keep trading, and not keep trading, keep charting. Trading is up to you guys. Have a nice weekend.